Today, I am going to tell you everything that is wrong with my 2000 Land Rover Discovery. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So many of you know that Land Rover Discoveries are amazing off-road vehicles. Land Rover Discoveries are one of the best off-road vehicles that have ever been offered on planet Earth, since the beginning. It's in the same conversation with Jeeps, it's in the same conversation with G-Wagons, Land Cruisers, and of course, Land Rovers. If you see Land Rover in front of a vehicle, chances are you know that it's going to be good off-road. So if you've been living under a rock, you know that Land Rovers have been in the conversation as some of the greatest off-road SUVs that have ever been created on planet Earth. There is a statistic out there that says the majority of people, about 80% of people on Earth, have seen a Land Rover. I kind of like that statistic because I think about all parts of Asia, Europe, Africa, South America. To think that all those people have seen Land Rovers at least at some point in their lifetime. They may not have seen a skyscraper, but they've seen a Land Rover. That's pretty cool. And I really do like this Land Rover. But unfortunately, an old car has a lot of old problems. The first one, the bumper. So the reality is the car was in relatively perfect shape when I got it. This car has lived in Florida for a very long time under a rust-free environment because my parents took extremely good care of it. The first thing that happens as soon as I put it on a transporter, the guy at the transporter crushes the front bumper. Highly frustrating, but that's not the end of the world because I plan to do something that's going to be a little bit more hardcore, and it's going to match the rear bumper of this car. So, with every problem, there's a solution. So that's the way that I need to see it. The next thing that I need to fix in this car, the tires. These tires are perhaps too small for this car, and even worse, none of these tires actually match. A general tire, Firestone Destination LE. The Destination LE, Bridgestone Dueler, and this one seems to be something else. The bottom line is, having mismatched tires on an SUV, despite me not doing any serious highway driving, is not safe for the vehicle. So I am going to do something that is going to be all matched, all-terrain tires, something a little bit more aggressive that matches the personality of the car. Maybe a taller tire and a higher profile, because I think that's going to allow this car or this SUV to look the right part. Another thing that needs to be addressed in this vehicle, the stereo system. I want to keep the cassette player because it's matched to the CD changer that lives underneath the seat. I don't necessarily listen to CDs that much, but I do listen to cassettes. I'm an old school kind of guy. So, me listening to cassettes is quite important. And it is the original radio. It kind of looks the part. There are Land Rover classic radios. There are Bluetooth aftermarkets that look like a classic radio that would match perfectly in this position. And perhaps there are like those screens that give you the latest in Apple CarPlay. I do think about that, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure. I also have a problem where I need to address all the speakers because many of the speakers in this vehicle are blown. There's a lot of blown speakers in this car, so I need to do something that's going to allow for aftermarket speakers to match to this head unit. I perhaps need an amplifier. So I need to try to find something that's going to work well and mate well to this system. If I do not mate it to these speakers properly and there's no other solution, then I may be stuck with having to get a Bluetooth solution. But at the same time, I don't want the reason I get into cars is to disconnect from my phone. I try to get away from having a connectedness to the world. I drive to forget, I work hard, so why do I want to connect to everything that's going on in the world? This is my chance to be at peace. This is a car that I can get lost in nature with. So this is what I kind of want to do with this car. So that is the last thing that needs to get addressed. All right, so another thing that is wrong with this car is the headliner. the baggy headliner, the humidity from Florida has caused it to start drooping. The Alcantara microfiber, whatever you want to call it, headliner has come down. Well, it is coming down. It is actively dropping. The only problem with this is the fact that because it is coming down, this requires for the entirety of the headliner to be removed outside of the car, and that is going to be a laborious excursion. So it requires someone with an expertise that I don't have to do this. I mean, I could try it on my own, but hiring somebody who can do this in the course of a day rather than opposed to a week, I think I'm going to go with the person who can handle this in a day, because they're an upholsterer. They do tons of these every single day at their shop. So I'm probably going to go the route of hiring a professional to get this headliner sorted. Plus, there is a wiring loom that extends the length of this headliner because Land Rovers are off-road vehicles. The whole purpose of not getting water on the wiring is the reason why there is an extensive amount of wiring on the roof of this vehicle. So that is Land Rover trivia for you. The great thing about this car, it's a low mileage example, and I don't have the three amigos, meaning the hill descent control, the ABS, and the traction control lights. They mostly, for the most part, stay off, but they do not live in this gauge cluster, and I'm very happy about that. I better knock on wood, because those things are going to pop up at any moment if I keep saying that I don't have that problem. And the three amigos seem to be a thing. If they do pop up, I heard it's not a big deal, but I'm not too worried, because if I think about the gauge cluster having those three lights, you know, these are features that in my Porsche 911, I'm not necessarily using traction control. I'm not using ABS because those features were never included with the car in the first place. And hill descent control, that's only for off-roading. So I'm not taking my 911 off-road. It's not a safari vehicle. And with this engine on, this car is, 76,000 miles. This is a family-owned car. This thing's been barely used. I really love this thing. This is like, you could tell that the quality is poor. Like the plastic, the ABS plastics that were used in period. Like, come on. Land Rover could have done so much better. They could have wrapped this in a leather, or they could have, but they were cutting costs wherever they could. I mean, this is, they were thinking about usability, practicality. And, for some reason it works, because it is a very charming interior, and it is built a cut above my Range Rover Classic that I had several years ago. I think this is a great car. I look forward to using it, and I look forward to upgrading it. So fixing little things that, wherever I can, I will do that in order to cut costs and cut my spending wherever I can. All right, so the gauge cluster housing is a little loose. This is a common problem with the broken tabs of Discoveries, so I have a solution. This is sheet metal screws and the washer. Not necessarily the way that you should go, but Home Depot has a solution, so I figured, why not fasten this into place? I got the idea from Reddit, so let's see what happens. All right, so my $3 Home Depot solution actually worked. It is actually fixed in place. I mean, these things are never, the quality has always been atrocious, but to the naked eye, it doesn't look that bad. And once I adjust the steering wheel up, it is barely out of sight. It's not so horrible. Finding one of these is gonna be expensive, and it's a Land Rover part, so I don't want to get into that rabbit hole. But I really do love this car, and I am excited about going on this journey of fixing this with you. Subscribe today so we can fix this car together, and I look forward to making the next video on every step of the way in which I bring this car to its highest potential. And I look forward to engaging with you more. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care and subscribe today. Thank you.